I invite you to relax where you are as we move into our meditation. Focus on your breathing, breathing in deeply and releasing and letting go. We begin by relaxing the physical body so we may become more aware of the spiritual nature of being. So I invite you to close your eyes if that is comfortable for you and just feel a relaxation moving through you from head to toe, relaxing all of the tissues and muscles in your face, in your jaw, in your neck, and then moving on into your shoulders and up and down the back, adjusting and aligning. With every breath, you are more at peace. That calm continues to move into the arms and hands and fingers, through the chest and abdomen. We feel them just becoming so serene and calm. Moving through the hips and thighs, knees and calves, ankles, feet, and toes. We breathe in fully the light and love of God, and it touches every cell of our being with divine intelligence and healing and wholeness. If there are any areas in the physical body in need of healing, we breathe into those that healing light and love of God. And we see it doing its perfect work, bringing to you exactly what you need. And as we exhale, we let go of any worry, any concern. We breathe in once again, and we send our healing energy to any other areas of our life that are in need of healing. Relationships, finances, work, whatever it is, because we know that this divine intelligence is going to guide us to do exactly what it is for us to do our part in the healing and co-creating with God. So we feel completely relaxed, fully at peace. This day, we focus on ways to know God more. We are always seeking to prove God in our lives, to look for and find the experience of God. We begin simply by our awareness. We become aware of being aware. We notice what we notice. We notice the sounds, the sights, the colors, the aromas, whatever is around us in our physical senses. But then we also take it a step further and we notice how we feel, what thoughts we are thinking. We know God more through our mindfulness, through times like this, times of meditation, where we are able to sit back and become quiet and listen for that still small voice of God. Continuing to breathe in deeply and release and let go. We also know that God awareness is part of our willingness. We want to be open to not just being aware, but to following the guidance, using the power of will, that deciding, choosing power that we have, to choose to look for God. And we might find God in ways expected and in ways unexpected. We just know that wherever we are, God is. We feel that calm, that perfect inner knowing, and we know that there is an activity within us that is aligning with the divine, that we are in the flow of God and God is in the flow of us. So we take a few moments, we go deeper within, and we listen. What would God have us know or do this day. We rest for a moment in the silence. Let us begin again to focus on our breathing, breathing in deeply and then releasing and letting go. Letting go and letting God is so powerful for us, because when we let go and let God, we're letting God be God in our lives. We are surrendering a need to control or have the illusion of control. When we let God be God in our lives, when we notice more of the coincidences, the happenings in our lives, we are able to make choices and follow through on those choices. We align with the divine. Let us focus once again on our breathing and breathe in deeply and release and let go as we bring this time of meditation to a close. We allow our awareness to come up behind our closed eyes, letting them open as it is comfortable. And yet we remain in prayer. Prayer is conscious awareness of God. We live in God, and God lives in us. And for this, we are truly grateful. We pray into the nature of the indwelling Christ presence. And we say, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. You know, I believe that everybody, each one of us, would like to know God more. In our heart of hearts, the absolute truth of us, that's what we would like. Now, I don't think we're ready to be called home for the meeting today, but I think that we would like to know God more. We know God more, for instance, as peace. Experience God as love, as creativity, as energy, as life, as nature. We want to experience God within us, around us, to express God as us. Because when we know God more, we experience life more. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple of areas that have to do with how we are able to know God more. Awareness and willingness. Now, for awareness, just think about where you are right now. What's going on in your life in this moment? Are you feeling truly present to what's going on? Do you notice the colors, the sights, the lights, the sounds, the aromas all around you? Notice the chairs supporting you. We oftentimes just take things for granted. We don't notice what is right in front of us. And that's only part of it. We also kind of get stuck with our expectations. What are you expecting? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Sometimes our expectations, they mislead us. I'd like to try an experiment with you, but I'm going to need a volunteer. So somebody needs to raise their hand. It's going to be an easy thing. All you have to do is think of a number, but we need a volunteer. Maybe Darren, you can help. Find a volunteer. And I'd like you as a volunteer to think of a number between 1 and 1,000. A number between 1 and 1,000. Okay, you got our volunteer? All right. Think of a number between 1 and 1,000. And then don't say it out loud. Just really focus on that number. Pretend that you're actually drawing that number on a piece of paper. Focus on the number. All right. All right. Okay. Is the number 792? Pardon me, speak up. Is the number 792? All right. I almost always get that right. However, what if it is number 792? Well, then I'm right. The idea of this experiment is to encourage you to broaden your expectations, to see things that you might not have been noticing and seeing before. You are the observer of your life. You are the ones who are seeking to find God more, to broaden your expectations and your life. Notice, for instance, the coincidences that are happening in your life. Have you had a healing? Have you had a chance meeting? Have you had a divine idea, this aha that just kind of came to you? Those are incredible ways that God expresses to us. But we have to be aware. We have to be willing. See, our awareness requires mindfulness, to be present to the moment, not be about the past, not be about the future, but right here and right now. Now we can be consciously aware physically and mentally and emotionally, or not. That's what happens sometimes. We're just not. Why are we not aware? Because we're numbing ourselves out on food and drink, or we're spending so much time getting lost on our computer or our cell phone, smartphone, following whatever is happening. We lose track of time. Or maybe you're like one of those people who, when you're asked how you're doing, all you can think of is how busy you are. I am so busy. I'm juggling so many things. I got so many balls in the air. I'm afraid I'm going to drop them. And then nothing will happen. When in truth, that's not true focus then. You need to take some of those balls and just have one or two that you're working with at a time, so you can know God more and not get lost in your busyness. See, there's a spiritual pathway that goes beyond the physical and the mental and the emotional. That spiritual pathway provides us with an inner knowing. It's an intuitive part of us. We know what we know. And when we open up, we are inviting God into our lives. But there's something else that can happen sometimes. And this is something you may have heard about before. It's a term called divine discontent. We've probably all had it from time to time, this divine discontent. What that means is that there's something that's rubbing at you. It's something that you've been saying you're going to do for the longest time and you just haven't done it. Maybe it's a kind of a nudge to help make a change in a job or a relationship, or to start a new habit, or to quit one that is not serving you. This divine discontent is really a blessing from God. It's saying that if you follow through and you do what you know is yours to do, then you're going to release this discontent and you're going to align with the divine. You're going to be with God more and more. So you are the observer of your life. You can look for and you can find evidence of God. It requires mindfulness. And that's just one way to know God more. Another way to know God is through willingness. There's a power that we have. You know, we've got these 12 powers. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, talked about the 12 powers. And we have power of faith and imagination and life and love and understanding. We also have the power of will. Will is the deciding, choosing faculty that we have. It allows us to make decisions in our lives. And with any of these powers, you can use them or misuse them. When you use them rightly, then they work well for you. But when you misuse something like the power of will, well, you end up being impatient or stubborn. Your life is more about my way or the highway. You feel a resistance or an insistence to have things your way. That's a misuse of the power of will. The proper use, the best use of the power of will is in willingness. When we open up and let God be God in our lives, when we do that, we open the door of Spirit to help us in our lives. So using this power of will, let me ask you, what are you willing to do? What is important to you? See, we choose and then we make it happen. Now, with some of the powers, there's not necessarily an action part. With will, you can't just make a decision without following through on it. That's willpower, okay? You've probably made some decisions in your life, I know I have, that I haven't followed through on. Oh, for years, New Year's resolutions are like that, where we have an idea, we want to follow through on it, but we just don't use that power of will rightly. When we do, then we're able to make positive change. What is it that you would like to make happen in your life? What's important to you? Let's say relationships are important to you. If they are, then you will use that power of will to have healthy communication with others. You'll be one who is a great listener. You will seek first to understand, then to be understood, as is said in the prayer of Assisi. What is it that you would like to do to have a perfect relationship? If you use the power of will, and that's what you want, then your relationships will flow because you will be the person that will encourage a healthy relationship. Maybe your health is particularly important to you. If so, how do you use the power of will with your health? Well, you eat nutritious foods, you avoid those which are not, you move, you get plenty of sleep, perhaps you meditate to keep stress levels down and keep the channels open. See, if physical health is particularly important to you, you use the power of will to make something happen. And sometimes it's not just willpower, it's won't power. And that can be very powerful too. You decide what you will do, what you will not do. So relationships, physical health, those are just some of the things that may be important to you. Whatever it is, you decide. You apply the power of will. You make the choice and follow through, and you make it happen. I have a younger brother who has always been funny, but he decided he wanted to be a comedian. So he went and took some classes on improvisational comedy. And then he started going to open mic nights, and he would try out his material. And then he started getting jobs at various nightclubs, doing his comedy act. He was actually invited by the government to go to various bases around the country and provide comedy. Eventually, he got a job on a cruise line. He was the manager of the whole comedy store. He would be running the department. For 2 or 3 years, he did this. Of course, he also needed to get back to a job where he actually made a living. He's a business analyst, and that is not a funny job. So he had this burning desire to do something that he really enjoyed, and he still does that. And he's waiting to get discovered if that happens. But in the meantime, he's being creative with his mind. He's finding ways to help people laugh and to feel a certain lightness. And that is what is so important to him, that he will actually spend the rest of his time doing the work that he has to do to make a living. What is it that you have a burning desire to do? Because it's really not about our ability, because we can develop that. It's about our willingness. There's been studies done that demonstrate that willpower outperforms IQ by a factor of 2 to 1 when it comes to academic performance. Willpower outperforms IQ 2 to 1. If you have a burning desire to make something happen, you can find the ways to make that happen. You open up to the possibilities. You do your meditation. You see that things start working together for good. So it's not about just our ability, but our willingness. I'd like to share with you some quotes about willingness. In order to make any permanent changes, you have to be willing. Willing to see things differently, willing to experience new ideas, willing to listen to the people who cheered you on rather than the ones who echoed your fears. And that's from Rhonda Britton. Booker T. Washington said, success is to be measured not so much by the position one has reached in life as by the obstacles which were overcome while trying to succeed. And Joseph Campbell says this, we must be willing to get rid of the life we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. See, the power of will moves you from theory to practice, from idea to manifestation. What is it that you want? What is it you're willing to do to get that? Maybe you need to develop your faith more, to believe more that there is God out there. How do you do that? How do you use the power of will to move from being doubtful to being faithful? It's really pretty easy. You put God into practice. You invite God into your life. You pray for something. Make it small if you want to start with, but just believe that it's possible. A parking space, it can be something small, but the more you prove that, the more you build your spiritual muscles and you go from doubt to faith and you're able to believe and then see the results because you are looking for in finding an experience of God. Maybe you need to move through the power of will from fear to courage, to make some decisions that are kind of scary. The only way from this side of fear to the other side of fear is through it. You can't go around it. You can't go over or under. You have to go through it. But if you think back, you will see that there have been times when you were afraid. You did it anyway, and you're not afraid anymore. The first time you went out on a date or had a job interview or any number of things, you move through those. So if you face the fears and you say to yourself, obstacles make me stronger, I'm going to move through that. I'm going to become who I am here to become because I'm doing my work, using the power of will to move through the fear. Maybe you are feeling some guilt about something and you like to move from guilt to a place of true freedom. Guilt, in my mind, is one of the most useless emotions to hold on to in the whole world. Because with guilt, there's always something you can do. You can make amends. You can make a shift, a change. Holding on to guilt just makes you feel like there's something less than in you. And the truth is, you are a unique, divine individual. There is a perfection about you. And so you did or didn't do something that you should or shouldn't have done or said. You make an amend, you make a correction, and then you live your life better. Guilt as conscience is a powerful thing. It helps you make changes if you employ God in the process. So allow yourself to move from guilt to freedom. Sometimes people hold on to worry. Well, if you want to use the power of will to move from worry to confidence, then realize what you are doing with the power of will. You're using that wrongly. See, worry is a misuse of faith and imagination. You're imagining the worst, and then you're believing it. So if you want to make that shift, then re-envision the positive possibilities. Know that all things are indeed working together for good, as we read in Romans. Align with the divine. Move through your fear. Be willing to take charge of your life. Let go of worry. You need to do and be who you are called to do and be. So be aware. Notice what you notice. Live in the moment, not in the past, not in the future. And then be willing to do whatever you are called to do. Step up, step out. Look for evidence of God. Prove God in your life. That's how to know God more. God bless you.